Hello, BookTube. Well, we're back, and you'll never guess what we did all day long. Got more books. We went out and about and got more books. Piles of them, so we have a lot to show you. I actually got a lot more than you did. So
yeah, I didn't get as many. We went. Where else did we go? We went to the Harvard bookstore, and we went to.
Not to be confused with the Harvard Coop.
No.
This is an independent thing called the Harvard Bookstore.
And then also we went to, was it Rodney's used
Rodney's?
books? That was there. And then we also stopped in at Goodwill for some odds and ends and looked at the books there. So, nothing major, just bouncing around the area, more or less. But
still managed to accumulate a lot of stuff.
yeah. You have more, so maybe you ought to start.
Yeah, let me do 3 huge books that I got. I got this huge thing from Oxford, The American President, from Theodore Roosevelt to Bill Clinton. Gigantic book there. That was, I believe that was at Rodney's, and I believe it was fairly priced. There were a lot of pricey books at all of the places, except the Goodwill. The Harvard Bookstore has it's a normal retail bookstore, but it has the basement is all used books. And those, I remember when those used books down there were cheap. They're not cheap anymore. I saw a $35 trade paperback.
Yeah, I left a lot of stuff that I otherwise would have grabbed, yeah. But
if you've got regular access to good used bookstore, you're not going to overpay. I don't.
And you know what's in our future for the rest of the week.
It's that too. Then I got this. This is by Noel Mostert. The Line Upon the Wind. This is the naval war against Napoleon in all of its theaters, not just Trafalgar. Those were 2 huge books. And then I got this thing, which I had once upon a time. This is a guide to the symphony. It's a history of symphonic music, and then a breakdown of a whole bunch of famous symphonies. I had this once upon a time and loved it. Thought it was elegantly written and got rid of it somehow. I haven't seen it used since, so when I found it today, I grabbed it. So I think those are the 3 biggest hardcovers that I got. What about you? I'm curious. You found another Viking Portable
another
library.
Viking Portable. This is the Portable Conrad. And this one, I'm surprised I haven't seen. I don't know. Maybe it's not very common, but it's in perfect shape.
I'm assuming it has the whole of Heart of Darkness.
Yeah, I think it did. I think I checked. I'm fairly certain it does.
Does not have the Heart of Darkness. No, there it is. There it is.
Oh, there.
Bottom one.
I don't know if it's the whole of it though. 490. Oh yeah, it must be. Yeah. Okay, thank God. So I have that. I'll add that to my Viking Portable shelf.
I got. Let's see here. Hannah Kent's book, Burial Rites. Do I have anything stuck in here? Just a lovely hardcover with deckled edges. I reviewed this. So really what I should have been holding out for was the trade paperback, because I'm pretty sure I'm blurbed on the trade paperback. But I saw this, and this was at the Goodwill, so it was cheap. And it's icily written. Just a wonderfully compelling story about a woman who's been convicted of murder and convicted for killing people and is sentenced to death. And the people in her immediate orbit. You wouldn't think that you could get such a beautiful book out of a story like that, but it works. I also got this. The publisher sent me an e-copy of this, and I don't know even where it is, but this is S.M. Sterling, and this is his Conan novel, Blood of the Serpent. His Conan pastiche novel that I read, and I didn't think it was anything really superb. It wasn't bad. I really like this author. I really like his Emberverse series, but I would have left this. It was only $8 only. That's what happens when you're buying overpriced books all day. I would probably have left it, but then I saw that it has artwork by John De La Torre, who's fantastic. He's doing currently the Conan the Barbarian comic for Titan Comics. So I have it. I'll give it another reread. Should I keep going?
I'll do it another one, I guess. As thrilling as Conan, I have Communism. This is TLS Companions. I've never heard of this series, actually. And it looks like it's kind of a history and overview. So it is in 4 parts, starting with Distant Thunder, so 1902 to 1917, The Achievement of Power, 1918 to 1939, and then skipping along here, it ends in 1991.
The TLS Companions?
Yeah.
Do you know of that, any of you? Do you know what that is?
It looks like it's put out by the University of Chicago Press, and yeah, I haven't heard of this before, so we'll see how it is.
I got a Tutor history. This is by Leanda Delisle, who I would really like. She wrote a book called Tutor that I would really like to find. I had it once upon a time. I haven't seen it in the wild since. But this is about not just Queen Jane Grey, poor little Queen Jane, 11 days on the throne, but also her family, her siblings, but also her father and her horrible reptilian mother. Any of you who've seen the movie, there was a movie about, 40 years ago called Lady Jane that is incredibly good. It's incredibly good. Helena Bonham Carter plays Jane Grey. And Carrie Elwes is wonderful as her dreamboat boy toy husband. Everybody in it is great. The only problem with it is that it lies about her, and I don't remember if I've ever read this book. People like to lie about Jane Grey, and the lie is very simple. I can give you an axiom that you can quote for the rest of your days and die reciting. No one ever put their bottom on the English throne accidentally or involuntarily. No one ever did that. Everyone who got there by killing people to get there, by wanting to get there. And Jane Grey was no exception. So, but I don't remember even reading about this book, so I'll give it a try and see what... do you want to keep going?
Sure, yeah.
Oh, no.
Totally
oh my God. Only
English
a matter
Thrones.
of time.
Yeah, this is John Rawls. This is his book, Political Liberalism, which came out after A Theory of Justice, and a lot of parts of it is him addressing, even if not explicitly, criticisms of that book. He's been on my mind since I read that book that came out earlier this year, Liberalism as a Way of Life. He was all over that book like a rash. And then I also read The Virtues of Liberalism, which is another really good book by Stephen Macedo from years and years ago, which is also in the footnotes of Liberalism as a Way of Life. And so I've been meaning to go at Rawls again. I was hoping I would see Theory of Justice there, and then also, since whenever I read Rawls, I also think of Nozick, so I'm hoping maybe I see Nozick this week too. But this is good time, and I'll definitely be reading this. I first read Rawls. I got to him a little late. I got to him in college, and I remember I had a professor who was totally enamored with him, and I butted heads all the time because I just kept saying this is all just made up. I did not get along with Rawls at all when I first met him, so we'll see if I think of many.
We went to the same stores, and he's pulling out books that I don't even remember seeing with my eyes. I don't remember seeing them. We can show a couple of penguins here. I got the old Penguin Classic of the Count of Monte Cristo. This is smaller than the trade paperback they have now, and this translation is by Robin Buss. I don't know if this is unabridged. I had this trade once upon a time forever and ever, and didn't anymore. So I'm glad to have this face staring out at me from the Penguin bookcase, and I'll just have to look up what the details are. Then I found a penguin of something that I already have. I got this in an Oxford World of Classics, but this is the Forsyth Saga in one of these. I love these green-spined old penguins of English literature, and I found one yesterday for Edna St. Vincent Millay's poems, and says it's volume 1, so I'm assuming this is the first 3 books. Yeah, the Manor Property, In Chancery, and 2 Let. So this is not the whole of Forsyth Saga. And then wasn't there another penguin? Well, it doesn't matter. Let's see. I want to see what this thing is.
Not penguin, but I do have a pelican,
Oh
so
my
I guess
God.
it's the same. This is the Bolshevik Revolution. This is the Pelican History of Russia. One of these old series that Pelican did that I don't think will ever get republished.
Oh no, these things won't. And
no.
they often have gems in them.
And they're so
I got
good.
one
Yeah.
too today.
Yeah.
Not on the Bolshevik
I
Revolution.
think this has... this is E.H. Carr, by the way. And this has, I think, 8 volumes in it. So this is the 3rd. I think this has to do with Soviet diplomacy, mostly. So just after they took power. Which is a fascinating period. So I'm excited to get into this. I haven't read it before. So.
I got one of those old Pelicans too. You really want to grab them when you see them because they're not going to be reprinted. No one's ever going to think about these things again, and they often have gems. I found one that I don't know. This is G.S. Fraser, The Modern Writer and His World. I think that despite the highfalutin title, this is just a collection of book reviews or author essays. I only know this author in anthologies. He wrote, I don't know if it's in this book, but he wrote a long piece about The Dyer's Hand by W.H. Auden, which I just found a beautiful hardcover of it. And I remember loving that piece. This is a collection of his work, and this is an old Pelican. You're never going to see this.
Pelican and Fontana also has a bunch of old ones that you should just grab if you see them.
I wonder if that Auden thing is in here. I'm dying to know. This seems like a lot here.
The Pelican gospel commentaries are some of my favorites, too.
Yeah, I never see them.
I never see them.
I used to have them. The one volume for each gospel. They're incredibly good. And I had them once upon a time. No idea what happened to them. Probably sent them to somebody. Some miserable ingrate. Well, I don't see it. But this looks like it has a lot of great stuff in it. Then I found a Penguin of The Kingdom by the Sea by Paul Theroux. This is really interesting travel writing where he decides to circumnavigate the shore of the island of England and just report on what he sees and who he meets and what kinds of things he experiences. It's gimmicky, but he does it really, really well. The most memorable moment in here, the first time I read this when it first came out. So this has been a long time. This is due for a reread. 1980s, right? 1983. When I read it then, the most memorable moment is that at one point he encounters Jan Morris. And they have, it's a character-driven, anecdote-filled chapter where he meets Jan Morris, which is interesting in a couple of levels. I would load him in a fly on the wall because Jan Morris wrote a ton of travel writing and is a much better writer than Paul Theroux. He had to know that. But high time for a reread. Is this more Penguins? Oh yeah, let's do some more Penguins. I found yet another copy of Kixby by Benjamin Disraeli. This is the revenge of Joe Spivey. And the Penguin Modern Classic series of World War I poetry. Which I had this once upon a time. I remember liking it a lot. These things rise and fall by the choices that are made, and I really like the choices in this. So a bunch of Penguin stuff.
Yeah. This is the Everyman's Library New Testament.
Look at that! Show the spine.
Yeah.
This is a really
and
good
this
design.
one I got at Rodney, so this was reasonably priced. I probably wouldn't have grabbed it otherwise because these can get pricey. But sometimes I don't want to sit down with the whole Penguin or Oxford Bible and just going through the New Testament. And this is going to be really nice to have. So I don't know what more I'm going to say about the New Testament, but that's a great volume to have.
It'll go really well because when you get home, the first thing you don't want to do is go to confession.
Go to confession. Yeah.
Absolution of some
spiritually
kind.
and physically detox.
He mentioned at one point today with a desperate tone in his voice that he wanted to get something called orange juice. I'm hoping that fit has passed.
I need something green and yes.
Okay, I found a box set. The Alexandria Quartet in a neat box set. These mass markets are fairly sturdy, so I'm glad to have it. I would like a big fat trade paperback of this. I think I've seen one. I might even have owned one. But this was dirt cheap. A lot cheaper than even the Goodwill, because next to the big Goodwill where we went, there's a warehouse. Where it's gigantic space, and it's just canvas tubs on wheels. So you got shoes, dump 1,000 of them into a canvas tub and just roll it out and let people root around. You got clothing, luggage, whatever. And there were, 5 or 6 tubs of books?
Yeah, something like that.
Just piled with books. Where it not only is there no organization, there's not even any shelving. You just have to dig like a dog in the lawn. And it became fun.
Yeah, it felt obscene and dirty at first, and I mean, I guess it was all the way through, but I was just disgusted, and you could smell, you move something, dust flies up, and then you realize there's actually things in there. And then you start to notice patterns, and then you start to wonder what's under these 8 worthless computer manuals.
It's really hard to stop. Mm-hmm. Once you get digging, it's really hard to stop.
Yeah.
And it also... we went in there with the classic lie that I told myself for years when I used to go there regularly, which is that I'll just glance. I'll just skim the surface, and you can't.
And then your legs are in the air,
yeah,
and your head is at the bottom of the bin.
You're just digging to find stuff. When I first went there years and years ago, the books in the tubs were $5 for $1, regardless of what it was. 5 for $1, and you can bet I did some digging when it was 5 for $1. Then it went to 3 for $1. Now it's $1 for anything. But there was one time, years and years ago, I went there when the books were 5 for $1. I got there. There were no shady people around the bins, and sitting on the top of one of the bins, on a pile of books, sitting on the top, a perfect condition, not highlighted, Riverside Shakespeare.
Oh my God.
Just sitting there for 20 cents. It was 20 cents. But anyway, let me. So I got the Alexandria Quartet. I got this. 28 Barber Lane. This is the first 3 Barber Lane Tales of the City books by Armistead Maupin. I remember when these things started coming out. There were, I think, 3 volumes like this. These lovely. Is this Harper? Yeah, these three lovely Harper trade paperbacks. I really liked them. I really like that it's a distinct callback to the artwork of the original trade paperbacks of these things. They're easy. They're gay fiction. You got to have something for the gays. They're gay fiction. They're gay fiction, but they're very easy. I honestly don't think I would want the other volumes. But the first 3, Tales of the City, I would want that, especially since it was incredibly cheap. I also found this. How to Raise Indoor Plants Effectively. This is an older book. It's split right down the spine, so it was a fun purchase. But look, here is a Monstera, which I have here in this room. And you get this green type, and it visually identifies the thing and tells you what you need to grow it. So maybe having this thing will encourage me to have more books in here. Not more books. It's a Freudian slip, but it's a really predictable one. I have a terrible track record with keeping plants alive, but I do have 2 living plants in this room. I'm very proud of that. Look at this. Yeah. Is this a Wordsworth?
Yeah, this is Wordsworth. This is The Complete Father Brown Stories by G.K. Chesterton.
Look at that.
I've never read any of his fiction, and this was in one of those bins. So I'll be doing that for the first time. I like his nonfiction usually in moderation. He starts to grate on me after a little while. And I love these Wordsworth editions. I feel like they've taken the place a little bit of what like Penguins used to do, or used to be the affordable edition to get, and now new Penguins are still $25, something like that. These you can get at a really good price, and some of them I quite like. I do have a small handful of them at home.
You just got to steel yourself when you're doing the bins in the warehouse, because you've got to chuck stuff. You've just got to steam shovel it out of your way, and that it feels wrong to treat books that way. There were a whole bunch of paperback Shakespeare volumes there that I felt
there was a ton
wrong.
of them.
Okay, here's one that I saved from the bins. I have this already, but I didn't want it to be just sitting there in a rat-infested warehouse overnight, so I got the Neville Coghill Chaucer. You got to check when you're at a place like this, is it going to be highlighted or underlined? But this is in perfect condition, so I grabbed it. I have it already, but I grabbed it anyway. So that's another penguin. I found this thing, Sailing a North Sea Pilot Schooner. Privately printed thing full of illustrations of these tools with all sorts of stuff stuck in it. This was somebody's keepsake volume that they then died, I guess, and the stuff ended up in a bin in the Goodwill. I will probably very much enjoy this, so I grabbed it. A sailing life memoir.
Yeah, I was curious. I saw that before you. I was wondering if you were going to grab it. This is Edmund Burke and the Perennial Battles, 1789 to 1797, and this is put out by the Edmund Burke Society, and I don't know who put this together. I don't know anything about this volume, but I do love my Edmund Burke.
What is the Perennial Battle? His endless quest for salad? He was always making the same complaint when he was here for Wine and Calzones.
So I don't know.
Actually, as you may be able to guess from these videos, I kind of feel like he is here.
This does
for
look
Wine
like
and
it's just I can already feel my body though starting to ask what is going on.
Yeah. Yeah. Or maybe since you've been here so many times, maybe your body's saying, "You're at Steve's, aren't you? We're dying down here."
This looks like it's a collection of his stuff, actually. So
Very nice.
that'd be
I
great.
found a $1 copy.
I should
of
see how
this.
much of it I have though, because I have that big 1,000-page Everyman Library, Eben Burke volume. So I'll have to look at that.
Do you really?
Oh,
That's
yeah.
a great.
I love
volume.
it. I love it. I go to it quite.
I
a bit.
don't have
Yeah.
that. We'll have to look for it. If we do any more book shopping this week, I don't know if we will. I'm not really bookish people. I found Cy Montgomery's How to Be a Good Creature. I thought it was a trifle when I got it from the publisher, but I really enjoyed it. And now it was there for dirt cheap in a bin, so I saved it. I found this in a bin. Calvin and Hobbes, the final Calvin and Hobbes volume. It's a magical world. I love all the volumes here, but the last one is my favorite because of the way it ends. Because this is Calvin and Hobbes is one of those rare things that didn't just end because sales dripped or whatever. The writer, the artist knew he was ending it, and the final.
It's wonderful. Yeah.
The final panel there. Oh my God, that quote. It's a magical world is from the final installment of Calvin and Hobbes, which I remember reading in the paper. I knew it was coming. It had already made the news, and it broke my heart. And here, I'll finish up, and then you can, because I only got the one book left. I found this in the bins as well. A big sweeping history that's really sharp, really smart. And if I'd seen this, at Rodney's or whatever for $6, I'd have been tempted.
What is it?
The Millennium by Philippe
I never know what to
Fernandez
make of this kind of
Armesto.
books. There was one at the Goodwill too on the shelves, and
Some of them aren't good. But
that's kind of what I figured. But
this one is really good, and I would have paid $3 or $4 for it at a different used bookstore, but to see it in a bin next to old shopping bags and old computer manuals, I grabbed it right away to save it. There you go. That's all of mine. Now we can finish with you.
okay,
He's going to finish up with something weird that we saw
Yeah.
there.
So I'm going to start with something weird too. This is Comparative Economic Systems, which I would have missed, but Steve chucked it into the next bit, and I happened to look over.
I
at the
felt
moment,
like it burned my
and
fingers.
I saw
too.
the word economics, and this is by Richard Carson.
It's David Murphy, folks.
and
So
I
it's
have-
weird all the way down.
I have actually paged through this before, but I haven't read it through. It is, I think, technically a textbook, but it is pretty interesting. There's some good notes in it, so I may actually just read it straight through. Although I don't remember when it came out. Sometimes these comparative economic systems books, which is a class you can take sometimes, if they're published before the end of the Cold War, are very odd. Yeah, this is originally from 1973, and this doesn't seem to be a reissue, so this will be fascinating to read on the Soviet system.
Ooh,
This,
look at
yeah,
that.
I'm so happy I
Is
have
that
it.
a UK edition?
This is the. I don't know if it is.
I've
or
never
not. I've
seen
never
that.
seen this one either. Yeah, this is Martin Gilbert's book on the Second World War, which is so good, and one of the few single volume overviews that I don't have. I think I have a list of the ones that I don't have, and I found 2 of them now on this trip. So I'm just so thrilled to have
Who's
this.
the publisher? Where is this? Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the UK. No
is-
wonder. Oh my God, it looks beautiful.
So I'm very pleased with that.
You
And
should
now,
you should leave that here so that I can mail it to you.
I'm gonna mail it immediately. Which is also why I'm a little more selective with picking books. I'm getting better at this with each trip I come out. These have to get home, and if I'm paying for shipping, I can't get something that I'm going to see at the bookstore down the
I
road.
had such a great time the last time you were here. You left a whole bunch of stuff behind, and I wrote Steve Reed's entries about them and said, I don't know how this got in my library. I'm glad to have it. Purely to torment him. That's all. I wrote those essays only to torment him.
It felt so personal because it was before you went live with your blog, so I was the only
Yes,
subscriber.
it was
I
just one
like,
person.
you can
I just
email
had
me.
one subscriber, so I was just liberally taunting him.
I was like, put him in the effing mail.
It's so fun to visit here. Look at
So,
this.
Eddie, this
These
is
are
an
from the
honor.
bins.
These are from the bins, and it's all old New Yorkers. There were a bunch from 2023, 2024, but starting in January 2023, I started saving every cover of the New Yorker. I just tear it off; they come off very nicely, and putting them in a folder. And then my favorite ones I save as wall art. They make really nice wall art. And then also my favorite cartoons I cut out. I was telling Steve if there's a cartoon related to literature that I like, I'll put it in a little frame and I'll put it on the bookshelf. Or if it's related to cooking, I'll put it in a magnetic sleeve and I'll put it on the fridge, that sort of thing. So I'll take the covers off all of these. I'll go through, look at the cartoons. Also, some articles might be interesting to look at because some of these go back to 2016.
Wow.
So they might be a little strange to read at this point. I'm sure I missed a bunch, but this is a good handful that were just in the bins. So I might pay to have them.
Did the guy at the counter charge you just $1 for that whole block?
I think he didn't want. Yeah, he didn't want to count them. I saw him look at them for a minute, and then
Probably just charged you $1 for the whole block of them.
Yeah, I only paid a couple bucks when I checked out. So those are my finds.
So there you go. Another day, another pile of books. I wonder what we'll do tomorrow. You'll find out. We'll record it. But in the meantime, now it's time to have a good, healthy meal.
Yeah, nice big salad.
Yeah, nice big salad. Once it goes
and
through the
only
deep
water.
fryer.
Yeah.
Yes, water.
Water and salad.
No, I mean non-alcoholic beverages. I hardly touch those.
Drinks, yes, please.
Anyway, we're going to go, but we'll be back.
We'll be back.
Thank you, BookTube.